In every market, customers are different. We can assume that every market is made of different customers. And why are customers different? Basically, they are different because they expect different things from products and services. So when they buy value propositions, they are expecting different value. But if we put ourselves in the shoes of the companies or managers, entrepreneurs, how can we deal with such difference? How can we serve so many different customers into the market? So one very important strategic decision that a company has to take is market segmentation. That is to say, making evidence of that difference and try to leverage on that difference in order to provide consumers with different value propositions. So the idea of market segmentation is very clear. In the market, there are many different segments, which are basically groups of customers made by customers which are more similar within the segment and more different from customers within other segments. So the idea of market segmentation is exactly this, grouping customers together according to some similarity. So why so? Because at the end of the story, companies should be able to serve different segments of the market with different value propositions. Since different segments are made of customers who expect different benefits and to make different sacrifices when buying products and services, serving these different groups of customers means designing different value propositions which are more effective in satisfying their expectations. So basically, market segmentation is a process. That is to say, when a company starts the process of segmenting a market, it has to go through different steps. The first one is identifying the segmentation criteria. What are segmentation criteria? Segmentation criteria are exactly the characteristics according to which different customers can be grouped together. So once I identify segmentation criteria, I'm able to build segments. The second step of the segmentation process is profiling customers, customer profiling. What does it mean? It means that once I identify different groups of customers, different because they have different expectations, I can try to identify other variables which can better describe those customers from customers which belong to other segments. So this is called customer profiling. And what about the third step? The third step is targeting. That is to say, once I have identified different segments into the market, I have to choose which one I want to serve. The company can decide to serve the whole market, so all the segments in the market, can decide to serve only a few segments into the market. So the point is, which are the segmentation criteria that a company can choose in order to segment the market? Criteria can be very different. Criteria can be linked to the individual characteristic of customers. Let's remember that the question we want to ask here is, why do customers expect different benefits and to make different sacrifices? So some of these differences are linked to the differences in the individual characteristics of customers. They are demographic features, age, gender, residence, geography, their social characteristics, the social networks they belong to, their profession, their primary social groups, their secondary social groups, their values, so it can be value-based variables, the values that are important in their life, some psychological characteristics, some psychological traits, are they introvert or extrovert? Are they innovative or are against innovation? They are very sensitive to innovation or they are less sensitive to innovation. Are they risk adverse? Are they risk prone? So there are many different individual characteristics that can be used as segmentation criteria. But the most important one is the benefits they seek. So basically we can group different customers according to the different weight they give to different combinations of benefits. And this is called benefit segmentation. So once I have identified different groups of customers, different segments into the market, according to the different combination of benefits they seek, then I can add new variables in order to profile those customers. That is to say, let's take, for example, the beer industry. So there could be one segment which is very sensitive to taste. I make it very simple. Another segment which is very sensitive to convenience. Another segment which is very sensitive to the origin, so the heritage. Another segment which is very sensitive to the quality in terms of methods of production. So you can identify different segments, seeking different benefits. So the point could be, in terms of customer profiling, which are the distinguishing features of customers who seek convenience. By convenience, I mean a combination of price, availability, service. So why these customers are different from the other customers? Maybe it's a matter of age, maybe it's a matter of income, maybe it's a matter of expertise. So there are some individual characteristics which can distinguish these customers from other customers. Once I have identified the segments, I have to choose. So the company has to choose which kind of segments of the market it wants to target. So targeting is again another very important strategic decision, because when I target a segment, I decide on which part of the market I want to compete. I want to compete to the overall market, I want to compete to some specific customers, group of customers into the market, I want to compete on one single segment. So this is a decision which is very important for the company. Once it is made, it is very difficult to change it in the short term. So the point is, how can I decide which segments to target? In this case, the most important evaluation to do is assessing the attractiveness of each target customers. How can I evaluate the attractiveness of one single segment? Attractiveness can be evaluated in many different ways, but the typical 3 ways a company uses to evaluate, to assess the attractiveness of a segment are financial attractiveness. A segment is financially attractive if it is big enough and consistently big with the expectations of effectiveness and efficiency of the company. It is growing enough, so it's a matter of rate of growth, and so it can allow the company to grow with the segment itself. The potential market is interesting. Customers are not served by many competitors, and so from a financial point of view, the investments needed to compete in that segment are not so huge. The second feature is competitive attractiveness. That is to say, an assessment of how fierce is the competition of that segment, and so how able could be the company to build a competitive advantage on that segment. How many competitors are competing in that segment? How strong they are? Which are the value propositions? Are customers appreciating their value propositions? Are customers loyal to their value propositions? The third things to be considered in terms of assessment of the attractiveness is the non-financial returns of competing and serving one segment. That is to say, the returns in terms of image, for example. If I serve a segment which is recognized as made of expert consumers, my image as a supplier would be improved. Or, again, expert consumers usually expect highly sophisticated value propositions. So if I serve a certain segment of the market, I can be recognized as a supplier which is able to satisfy highly sophisticated customers. But then we talk about end consumers, but we can also talk about business customers. Let's say, for example, if I'm able to serve if I'm, for example, a wine producer, and I'm able to be in the wine list of top restaurants, this will contribute a lot to my image and to my reputation. On the other side, if I'm able only to serve low-end restaurants, obviously my image is consequently affected. So the attractiveness can be basically assessed in 3 main ways. From a financial point of view, that is basically which kind of financial returns I can get out of that segment. From a competitive point of view, which basically means which kind of competitive advantage can I expect by serving that segment. So which kind of market share, which kind of sales I can get when I serve that segment. And thirdly, and lastly, which kind of non-financial returns I can get by serving that segment. And specifically, usually in the food and beverage business, there are 2 most important non-financial returns, which are the image of my company and the reputation that the company can get in terms of the competence it has in serving specific segments.